Hey everybody, today I'm going to be discussing some guidelines for being a good elevator photographer enthusiast. Recently I've noticed with YouTube user DieselDucy, there was an event that happened where security in a hotel, when he was riding the elevators, shooting a video of the elevators, the security guard enabled fire service to get him back down to the lobby, and then was confronted by the security officer. And even though everything was made right for Andrew, I've noticed, and he's noticed, that a lot of YouTube commenters have posted some pretty vulgar stuff on his channel, regarding the security officer, and on his Facebook page. And I've also noticed that there's several YouTube users out there who shoot videos of elevators. I'm not going to name any. I'm not actually a name caller, but I'm just going to tell you what I've noticed. I have noticed that there have been several users out there who are setting a very bad example for everybody who likes to shoot videos in elevators, using profanity, swearing, shouting, and things like that, disrespect, and that kind of stuff. So basically, all this combined gave me the idea to create this presentation today. So if you've been shooting elevators for quite some time now, or if you're actually new to the hobby, I suggest you take a look at this presentation, as you'll learn some information. These are really just my opinions, but I think they're good opinions, to be honest with you. So let's go and get started. First off, I'm going to tell you about myself just a little bit. This is Bike Geek MTDX. It's a YouTube channel which features videos about bicycle topics, elevator tours, weather-related stuff, and other interesting things. This channel has been on YouTube since 2009. It is actually a sister channel of Cube Computer Channel, a computer tech centered channel on YouTube. And this channel, along with Cube Computer Channel, used to be a single channel called Bike Geek CCP that was around from early 2007 through late 2009. Here's some information about myself. I'm 24 years old as of 2015, pretty knowledgeable in computers, electronics, power distribution, bicycles, weather, elevators, of course, and many other things. Yes, I happen to know a good bit about a lot of things, and here's, I think, probably one of the reasons why. I have Asperger's syndrome. It's a high-functioning form of autism. Now, this isn't really necessarily about that. This is, again, about guidelines for being a good elevator enthusiast. So let's go ahead and continue on. So this is about my interest in elevators. I started taking notice of elevators as an interest in around 2012. I shot my very first elevator video in December 2012 at Central Piedmont Community College in the Levine Technology Building. Started including elevator videos on the Bike Geek MTDX channel in early 2013, beginning with the Westinghouse Schindler elevator in the CPCC Advanced Technology Center. So let's go and talk about some important things to consider when you're shooting elevator videos. First off, you have to consider the locations that you go to film elevators at. Now, you have public locations that that could be publicly owned or privately owned. Now, it's kind of a vague area in some ways. So basically, you have places like stores, malls, colleges, hotels, all sorts of places that that are considered public places that have elevators and things like that. Now you can see I popped up a few logos of common places on the right. These places are places I have in fact filmed elevators at. Of course, many of you guys may recognize CPCC there. That was actually the very first place I started filming elevators at. I've also filmed elevators at several Hampton Inns and a couple of Hiltons. Filmed elevators at North Lake Mall and places like that. So anyways, as I was stating, although a place may be open to the public, it doesn't mean it's publicly owned. Hotels, malls, colleges, etc. are a good example of this. And building owners do have the right to tell you cannot film here. If you're filming an elevator or something and it's the security or a building owner confronts you and says, hey, you need to turn your camera off, he has the right to tell you to do so. I mean, it's his building. And of course, at hotels and schools, if you're an employee of the hotel or the school, a guest of the hotel or a student of the college or whatever, you may be asked to leave. I mean, point blank. Sometimes it may seem unfair, but sometimes it's the way it is. But we'll cover this more here in just a moment. So if your questions for filming an elevator, if a security guard, employee, or building owner stops you, here's some do's to consider. Always be courteous. Kindly explain what you're doing. You're filming an elevator. Explain about your hobby and what you do. You post a video to YouTube to share with your friends and what so on and so forth. If the person stopping you is not the building owner, you can kindly ask to speak with the building owner, supervisor, etc. to request permission. In some cases, it might be best to contact them directly via phone or in person at a different time. Basically, not bring it up to the person who stopped you from filming. Sometimes you're better off just to call back at a different time, request the owner of the building, supervisor or whatnot. And in cases like that, you may get clear permission to film the elevator in that building. And here's some do nots. Never argue with the person, and never be disrespectful to the person. They're doing their job. Remember, they know little about you, so always keep that in mind when you're confronted by somebody, by a security officer, police, or, building owner, things like that. Also, if you're in a publicly owned or funded place, you may still be asked not to videotape in the building. This is especially true for places like courthouses, town halls, and places like that. A very good example with this happened with Andrew, DieselDucy a while back. The video is on his channel. He, I think it's a Campbell Court. He wanted to film the Westinghouse elevator and was pretty rudely asked to leave. He followed his orders, but things went a little too far. Called the police and that kind of stuff. But eventually, the building owner took notice and made everything right. But as I mentioned, you may still be asked to leave in places like this. So here's some guidelines to consider while you're filming an elevator. And this is the most important. I cannot stress it enough. Do not film people, especially their faces. You have to keep in mind, remember this, only you know what's going to happen to the video you're shooting. People around you may not feel comfortable being filmed. Not everybody wants to be a YouTube star. Some people might, but not everybody. These people around you, they don't know what you have intention. They don't know your intentions for the video you're shooting. There's no telling what you could do. They don't know. So you have to keep that in mind. Always be respectful to others. Be kind to others. Show respect. It's very likely they are using the elevator for a legitimate reason and not just filming it, like you. Not saying that filming an elevator is a bad thing, just as long as you're respectful when you're doing it. Just be kind to others. So anyways, and this is an important one. Be especially polite to the elderly or disabled. Whether you're in the elevator with them or you're near the elevator with them, anytime you're in a public place, show respect for the elderly and disabled. You gotta understand that is so rude if you cut somebody off or if you are just rude at all to anybody who's elderly or disabled. So always please show respect. If people ask you what you're doing, kindly tell them what you're doing. Don't tell a lie. In many cases, at least in my experience, people were actually interested in my hobby, so they may be interested in what you're doing. I get asked a lot, if somebody else is on the elevator, they'll say like, "What you doing?" I'll tell them I'm filming the elevator, and they'll want to know more about it. And here's another thing: if somebody appears uncomfortable with you shooting video, stop recording, put the camera away, and apologize to the person. Let them know that you'll delete the recording and you'll reshoot the video at a later time. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable, you have to show respect. You can always reshoot the video. Just reshoot the video if somebody in the video feels uncomfortable. Pretty simple enough. Another thing I want to consider is, try to avoid filming the elevators of a building during busy times of the day. It's a win-win for you and the people who are in the building. There's a lot of people that would prefer not to be around a video camera, even if it's a smartphone. And plus, when the elevator is busy, it kind of ruins the video itself. When the elevator is stopping on like every floor, your elevator video will be much nicer when there's not a whole bunch of people using the elevator at the time. So anyways, you may notice that a lot of my videos are at CPCC. For example, let's say in colleges, avoid shooting video of the elevators when there are students around. In some cases, it's suggested to film college campus elevators outside of the semester. Most of my CPCC elevator videos are shot either, late in the day when there's not that many classes being held, or in many cases, especially if it's in like classroom buildings, outside of the semester. Another thing is, don't hold an elevator at a specific floor. In other words, don't hold the door open for too long. This is especially critical on single elevators installs, as the single elevator has, is serving all those floors, going up and down, answering calls, opening doors, and things like that. When you have that elevator door held open, the elevator cannot respond to other calls. And this is why most modern elevators have what's called nudge mode. If you hold the elevator door open too long, or if there's any obstruction in that door, it will sound a buzzer and it will force the door to close at a reduced speed. As I mentioned, you're adding an unnecessary delay when you're holding the doors open. And if you want to get a good look at the door equipment or demonstrate the nudge mode functionality of the elevator, do it when there's not a lot of people in the building. This way, it's a way of respecting other elevator users. Simple enough. Be respectful to the building owner's elevators. Elevators are very expensive to install and maintain. Don't ring the alarm. Don't pull the stop switch. Press buttons with excessive force. Don't pound the buttons. Don't abuse the elevator in any sort of way. If an elevator is being modernized or repaired, do not take parts. That is stealing. Yes, I have noticed in an undisclosed location today, I've seen where some elevator enthusiast was stealing parts. That is wrong. Don't steal parts. Don't constantly ride the elevator up and down, over and over and over and over again. Somebody has to pay the electric bill and the maintenance bill for the elevator. You got to consider that. When you're riding that thing up and down, it's wasting electricity. Just don't do it. And in the case where an elevator is broken, again, don't abuse it. You can observe the crazy or weird behavior that it's doing, but don't abuse the elevator. Don't slam buttons, don't jump in the elevator, don't do things like that. And in the case if it's a hydraulic elevator that's low on fluid, basically when the elevator gets to the top floor, you notice that it shakes a lot and you hear lots of loud noises. That means the elevator's hydraulic system is low on hydraulic oil. What happens is when the elevator car gets up to the highest level and the reservoir runs out of oil, the pump starts sucking in air, and that is extremely hard on the pump. It can burn it out very quickly, and that would be a very expensive repair. And anytime you see something wrong with an elevator, it's highly suggested that you notify the owner or employee of elevator issues. This could help prevent somebody from getting stuck in an elevator. Another thing that's really important, respect access control devices. Many elevators have restricted access to some floors, commonly restricted by a key switch, a number combination like either through a number pad or a number combination you would actually press on the floor buttons, a key card or RFID reader, things like that. These devices are there for an obvious reason. It's access control. It only allows those who are authorized to access those floors to access the floors. Don't try to bypass it. It could be access control in a building or the elevator itself. If you bypass access control and get access to a restricted floor, that is considered breaking and entering. You can get in serious trouble, including jail time for that. This is serious. Don't circumvent access control. Just don't do it. Yes, guys, there have been times where I've seen a very nice elevator behind an access control door. And there was a time where I saw a 2002 ThyssenKrupp elevator I wanted to get video of, but it was late, and the building had access control. Same goes for a brand new apartment complex that was just built. Saw the elevator behind the door, access control. So, it can be frustrating, but you got to respect it. If you really want to get a full round trip of an elevator that has restricted floors, speak with the building owner, kind of explaining what you're doing, and you may get permission and access to do it. Now, having an employee, just some random employee or other authorized personnel swipe their card, it's not considered permission from the building owner. For example, this could be in a hotel. Let's say if Joe enters the elevator, you're trying to get access to the upper floor. He swipes his card. That's just an example. Just because somebody else swipes their card doesn't automatically, that's not considered permission from the building owner for you to get access to those unauthorized floors. Just keep that in mind. Here's an interesting topic. When filming elevators in hospitals. I've filmed elevators in several hospitals. I'm sure many of you guys out there have done so as well. And just keep in mind the general guidelines I've already stated, but also don't film in your patient rooms. That's definitely a must. Give the patients their privacy. The hospital is practically their home, away from home. When they're in the hospital for whatever reason, you got to respect that. Give them their privacy. They already have. You got to understand when you're in the hospital, you're already having a pretty rough time as it is. You don't need anything else added to the plate. And don't film staff elevators unless you have permission. Now, in some cases, you may accidentally film an elevator and not realize till afterwards it was a staff elevator. But try to avoid staff elevators unless you have permission, because staff elevators are commonly used to transport patients in their bed from one floor to another. They may be used for emergency purposes. You don't need to be filming an elevator when there's an emergency going on and they need access to the elevator. Now, in some cases, they could actually enable emergency access on that elevator, but still, when you're filming the elevator, it poses an inconvenience to staff for the hospital. So just pay attention. Try to avoid the staff elevators when possible. Now, here's a very important subject: elevator keys. In some cases, you may have possession of elevator keys. Some keys operate the light fan switch or independent service. Others may operate other switches such as fire service, floor access, inspection service, among other things. These are authorized personnel keys. Just because you had them in your possession doesn't authorize you to use them in a building without the building owner's permission. You can land yourself into some serious trouble. Keys are great for collections, not to be used without permission. Do not use elevator keys unless you have the authorization to do so by the building owner. And even in this case, you should only use a key for operating the fan switch or maybe independent service, which we'll talk about that here in a moment. This should be the only reason you would want to even use the key. Turning the fan off to film that hydraulic elevator. And let's say you do have permission to use the switch. Always return everything back to the way it was when you're done with the elevator. Like if you turn the fan off, turn it back on when you're done. Just show courtesy. Now let's say if you want to try out independent service. Do not put an elevator into independent service unless you have permission to do so. Independent service disables the elevator from being called by call stations. So let's say if it's a single install, you pretty much have disabled the elevator from public use and have, where you're using it. So just keep that in mind. Even if you do have permission to use independent service, you should use it under supervision of the building owner or an elevator technician. Maybe unless you're really experienced and know exactly how it works, but it's still suggested that you have supervision. There are some special steps in operating an elevator independent service. It's not the same as running a typical elevator in group service. And here's a very, very, very important thing. Never put an elevator system into fire service unless you have the explicit permission to do so from the building owner. Now, if you look carefully, you don't find many videos of enthusiasts putting elevators into fire service. Usually the videos on YouTube you do see of fire service are actually by firefighters. In the rare scenario that somebody does turn on fire service, they usually do have permission to do so. This is very important. Some elevator systems, especially those in high-rise buildings, will notify the local fire department when you enable fire service. The same as setting off the fire alarm or calling 911. And fire service is not something that most people know how to operate. You have to be familiar with fire service and know how to operate it. If you simply want to see an elevator in fire service, one thing I would suggest is you speak with the building owner and probably coordinate with the local fire department. I personally believe the only reason unauthorized personnel should ever possess fire service keys is for keeping them in a personal collection, and only that. You should never have your fire service keys out in the field unless you have authorization to do so, unless you work at the fire department or something. And you have, again, permission. Key thing, permission. Machine rooms and shafts. A common thing elevator enthusiasts wish to see on many elevators is the machine room and or the shaft. The machine room or shaft should not be accessed unless you have permission from the building owner and have supervision from an elevator technician. Don't even try, like you say, if it's a hydraulic elevator, don't even try opening the door. Or if it's, it's a traction elevator, don't try to get access up there. You may know where the machine room is at. Don't try to get access into the machine room. Don't try the door. Don't even try to see if it's unlocked. It's not smart, because you you generally don't have authorization to be there. Unless you get permission and you have an elevator technician with you. Never enter these places without an elevator technician. It's serious. I am serious, because these places are extremely dangerous places. Your machine rooms contain moving parts and lethal voltages. On older elevator installations, the relay controllers contain exposed contacts. Even newer elevators do have exposed contacts. Do not touch. And elevator shafts contain moving parts and dangerous heights. Keep that in mind. Both machine rooms and elevator shafts contain moving parts. That could be considered deadly. You have to be very, if you want to see a machine room, I suggest that you get escorted there with an elevator technician. Now, let's say if an elevator malfunctions with you inside. Do not panic. Do not yell foul language. Don't scream at the top of your lungs with swear words or profanity. It really lowers your. It really makes you look like, I don't know. I can't. It's kind of hard to word. Just don't do it. Just don't. If an elevator has not moved, you can try the door open button. In some cases, maybe the elevator hasn't moved anywhere and it's still from a door. Sometimes the interlock doesn't register as a closed door. Let's say the door's closed, they don't close all the way. The elevator won't go anywhere because it doesn't see the doors are closed. Oftentimes you can press the door open button and the doors will reverse and open back up. Now, in some cases, the elevator is actually moving at a slow leveling speed. Too slow for you to really notice. In cases where the elevator loses track of itself in the shaft, it will slowly proceed back to a previous floor. This is especially common in hydraulic elevators. A lot of times they will actually slowly level down to the lowest floor or the lobby floor. In other cases, they'll actually level down to that homing floor, and then the elevator will actually try again to get you to your destination. Just don't panic. Now, let's say if the elevator still has not moved after several minutes, use the emergency phone to get help. Some of these phones dial 911, while many actually ring the front desk or the security dispatch center of a building or organization. Follow the directions carefully that are provided to you. You can refer to the elevator certificate if needed to tell the person on the phone which elevator you're in. Oftentimes, an elevator car will tell you which elevator car it is, like elevator 1, elevator 2, elevator 3, so on and so forth. Always keep this in mind. Now, here's some guidelines to consider when submitting videos to YouTube and watching videos submitted by others. Always show respect on YouTube. When posting videos, keep them clean. When shooting your videos, refrain from using nasty language. Please. Keep your content appropriate for young viewers. There are young viewers, some of them on the autism spectrum, who love to watch elevator videos. The majority of well-known elevator enthusiasts on YouTube, such as DieselDucy and TJ Elevator Fan, post clean content that is appropriate for all ages. My channel, Bike Geek MTDX, is also a channel where you can find clean content. When your videos are clean, you paint a good image for others who enjoy filming elevators and posting their videos to YouTube. When you use foul language, swear, show disrespect to others, etc., it paints a very bad image for the rest of us. Because did you know that some building owners don't like people filming their elevators simply because of how some people in the past have misbehaved and, abused the elevator and, things like this? It's true. I'm not kidding you, it's true. So please, just keep it clean. Show a good example for everybody else. When watching videos submitted by others, keep these things in mind, please. When posting comments, keep them clean. Refrain from profanity, swearing, name-calling, and things like that. Show respect for the uploader and to others who post comments. Bike Geek MTDX, DieselDucy, and other channels do not tolerate nasty comments. Just like the videos you post, your YouTube comments paint an overall image for others who are interested in elevators. There are some instances where an enthusiast will post a video regarding an experience they had when they were thrown out of a building. This can be a touchy subject for some, but please, do not post hateful comments directed toward a building owner, security, or the police. Whether they were fair or not, please just don't do it. It paints a bad image for the rest of us. Also, show respect on social networking sites. Many elevator enthusiasts have a page on sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Google+, etc. When visiting these pages, please show the same positive respect you would show on YouTube. No matter where you are on the internet, although everybody is entitled to their own opinions regarding elevator manufacturers, also, in regards to that, please show respect to elevator techs. They're human just like you. Whether they work for ThyssenKrupp Elevator, whether they work for Otis, Schindler, Kone, Southern Elevator, whoever. Always show respect. If you don't like the brand, it's not the tech's fault. They're human just like us. Always keep that in mind. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for following along through this video and all the information I provided. Please note these are my stated opinions based on the facts and opinions of others. And feel free to subscribe to Bike Geek MTDX. So anyways, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.